Hello, I'm Mariana Danilovich with Ultra Live TV, and we're here at Digital Hollywood Fall 2010 with John Canning, founder and owner of Media Sherpa, who is dealing with creating some order out of chaos of where video is actually going to end up on what screen and why.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've spent a lot of time helping with companies dealing with the issues of we have content, but where are we putting it? Where is it going? What platforms does it work on? So I've spent an entire career dealing with the content creation to play out. And the play out being set-top boxes, PCs, TVs, and getting people to understand that the display device is just a piece of glass. What feeds that glass is the interesting part of it. So you have to understand what all goes into that. And, you know, this is a show where you have all the people from the content creators to the pieces of glass all together in one place having that conversation. The interesting part is when we start moving beyond the, is it going to win in the living room? What's going to win? And realize that it's consumers are constantly pushing to get more, and they want to have it as a ubiquitous access. And how do we break down the rules and the dams that cause that to not happen?
Or to go from the old fiefdoms and kingdoms into the new world of continuous.
Oh, it'll create new fiefdoms and kingdoms. I mean, it's you never stop. You just see them change, right? You know, Apple is a fiefdom and a kingdom. YouTube and Google are fiefdom and kingdoms. They just change the borders. They change the rules of who can go in and out. But there's still those kind of things. But it is a shifting landscape of who's pushing out content, what is it being carried over, you know, how does people receive it, and how do they display it?
And so what do you think in terms of all these different screens, what are you seeing as an emerging pattern, if any?
The sad part is we keep seeing the same patterns emerge over and over again. People would like to say, you know, the new emerging pattern is, you know, we'll have Google TV, and that will be the new way to access television. And we see this constantly as the fight of new UIs coming along, new display models, and it truly is just constantly beating against that wall of people want the content, they want access to the content, so what are we doing to deliver that? And to some degree, technology is now starting to catch up to it. We used to do this with set-top boxes a long time ago. It wasn't that easy to use, but now we're starting to change that. So I think that's what we're starting to see, breaking down some of those barriers. But it's all about what is that piece of glass, how are we displaying on it, how are we getting access to content.
That makes sense. And so what are some of the things that really surprised you today, if any?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to say there aren't any surprises. I mean, anybody that's paying attention, we're not going to hear anything new or revolutionary right now from a lot of these folks. I mean, the conversations are happening. If you're watching any of the periodicals online, I mean, we're all, this is not a new conversation right now. I think it's interesting when I see somebody put up data that says, you know, it's still relevant after 3 months. What I think it's not an earth-shattering proposition, but when we hear people talking about the fact that they're proud of their data still being relevant after 3 months, or they're talking about something that happened yesterday and hoping that it's still newsworthy, I think the speed to which we're delivering information is rapidly changing. But these conversations, I mean, this conference is all about just continuing the conversations with people you know that you haven't seen in a while in some cases, having those sidebar conversations and kind of taking the general pulse.
In terms of speakers today, does anyone stand out in terms of like their view of the world that you thought, wow, this is really an interesting view of the world that I haven't really considered or may have considered, and I'm just amazed that this person actually is on the same page with me?
That's a good question. I haven't seen all the speakers. I can't be in every session at the same time. Not yet, at least. I think there are some really well-grounded people up there that aren't trying to dispense the hype. Some of the folks, I hate to play favorites, though, because I know too many of these people. So I'm just going to...
They're all good.
They're all great.
See, this is the interesting thing about Digital Hollywood Fall is that most speakers, whatever industry they're coming from, are starting to sound alike.
Well, there's only so much you can talk about in a public forum. I know several of the speakers, and they're on similar panels that they've been on before. We've had this conversation. Anybody that's been in this industry knows we're having the conversation we had 10 years ago. It's just the implementation technologies have changed underneath.
Except now it's actually happening.
Well, it's just happening a different way, right? 10 years ago we were arguing back and forth around VOD and other platforms.
Sure.
Now we're just doing it in different ways.
But I think there's a little bit more of a one voice kind of a feel to the conference.
But what would that one voice be saying? I think the one voice keeps realizing that the consumer is king, but nobody's actually willing to let them be king.
Correct. So maybe the voice is there at least. I've heard any number of the media execs said that consumer is king, but if you still look at the licensing rules, the windowing, the challenges that everybody faces to keep their businesses going, they still have to impose those rules. So until we can break that down, it's going to be the tough one. Fascinating times. Thank you very much for sharing your views here, and hopefully people will find you at Media Sherpa.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.